Tradition can look beautiful on the surface, crystal glasses catching sunlight, polished wood gleaming, but beneath it often hides a truth no one wants to name. In my parents' dining room, the weight of old rituals still pressed down on me, like a script I was expected to follow without protest. Sunlight spilled through the bay windows of the formal dining room, scattering rainbows across my mother's prized stemware. The burgundy napkin in my lap felt more like a tether than a comfort, heavy with the scent of her pot roast drifting through the air. At the head of the table, my father, Harold, carved the meat with his usual surgeon's precision, placing a thick slice on my plate before I could object. "Too thin, Marissa," he muttered, never looking up, as if I were still a child under his command. The moment I opened my mouth to remind him that I was 38, the front door slammed open. Peace shattered. My sister, Clarissa, breezed in like a conquering queen, trailed by her husband, Greg, and their brood of 3. Backpacks hit the floor, shoes scuffed the rug. Kids fought for chairs while Greg lumbered behind them with the heaviness of someone who wanted to be anywhere else. "Sorry we're late," Clarissa announced, her smile sharp, her tone void of apology. Her eyes gleamed with an excitement that set my nerves on edge. The noise swallowed my question about why she'd been shopping before dinner. My parents only had ears for their grandchildren. And then, like an old, unwelcome ghost, I saw it. That look. The unspoken exchange between my father and Clarissa. The same conspiratorial glance I'd watched my whole life. The one that always came before I discovered I'd been excluded from another family plan. We slipped back into the rhythm of dinner, passing dishes, polite chatter, until Clarissa's voice cut through it all. "We're moving into your lake house next week. Our foundation's shot." My fork froze midair. The air left the room. "It's just sitting empty anyway, Marissa," Harold said smoothly, his tone casual, his eyes far from it. The children's voices blurred into background noise as clarity sharpened in mine. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment plea. The children had already chosen rooms. The decision had been made long before I was invited to the table. Mother leaned in, her voice final. "It's a big house, and it's only temporary." Temporary. A word stretched thin as cheap fabric. 6 years. 6 years I had poured into that lake house. $420,000 to buy it. $95,000 in repairs. Endless nights alone, pulling soaked planks from a flood while they vacationed in the Caribbean. That house wasn't just property. It was the place where I stitched myself back together after the divorce, where silence no longer frightened me, where breathing finally came easy again. "Family helps family," Clarissa recited, her words rehearsed, her smile smug. "And it's only for 7 months, Harold added, his voice taking on the rehearsed cadence of compromise. But beneath the surface of their casual claims, I felt it, the ambush. And deep down, I already knew this battle would not end at the dinner table. Not this time. My hand slid into my bag and returned with a crisp manila folder. I placed it on the table like a weapon disguised as paper. "The contractors start Monday," I said evenly, flipping the folder open. Permits, contracts, signatures, dated 3 months back, spilled into the light. "It's a complete 9-month renovation, everything to the studs." The room suffocated in silence. My father's carving knife froze mid-air. My mother's glass hovered, her hand trembling. Clarissa's smile faltered, cracks spreading like glass under pressure. "You'll have to find somewhere else," I said, my voice steady. Sit down, Marissa. Harold's voice hardened. I am finished. I stood, sliding the folder into my purse. Behind me, voices rose into a chorus of protests, but I didn't turn back. The door clicked shut behind me, soft, not loud, but more final than any slam. Outside, autumn air filled my lungs like freedom. My phone buzzed. Raphael, all materials delivered, ready for Monday. Confidence uncoiled inside me. While they'd been scheming, I'd been building. Every permit filed, every lock replaced, every contingency covered. My phone lit up again before I'd even reversed. Harold's name, again and again. 12 missed calls by the time the highway stretched open before me. Only then did my hands betray me, trembling against the wheel as adrenaline drained. Shallow breaths, shaking fingers, but underneath the crash, resolve, steady, solid. At a rest stop, I dialed Raphael. Make sure the security system is fully operational by tomorrow morning, and move the dumpsters in front of the garage doors. I don't want any surprises. Already planned it, he replied, a smile audible in his voice. After what happened with the flood damage, I figured your family might try something. I gripped the phone tighter. He remembered. Someone remembered the weeks I'd spent alone, hauling ruined wood from a flooded floor while the others sipped cocktails in the Caribbean. The locks are changed, Raphael added. Cameras cover every entry. The trembling in my hands slowed. I wasn't alone in this fight. Thank you, I said. See you Monday. A buzz lit my screen. Clarissa. Dad's furious. Fix this now. I silenced the phone, dropped it on the passenger seat, and drove. The evening sky darkened to indigo as I left the city lights behind. I wasn't going to the lake house that was being stripped and remade into something mine. I was heading to the apartment where I'd relearned how to breathe, how to sleep without checking the locks 3 times. Tomorrow they would escalate. I knew it as sure as the moon rising. But this time I was ready. The drive back to the city was a blur of headlights and ringing calls I refused to answer. Harold, Evelyn, Clarissa. Each one a flare of control I let burn out unanswered. By the time I reached my apartment, silence felt like armor. I poured a glass of water, set my phone face down, and spread Raphael's blueprints across my table. Line by line, signature by signature, the proof stared back at me. This wasn't improvisation, it was strategy, months in the making. Another buzz lit the room. A message from Clarissa. Dad says you're being selfish. This isn't how family works. I almost laughed. Of course that was how family worked, for them. A single boundary was always branded betrayal. I closed the message without replying. Instead, I opened the security app Raphael had installed. Cameras blinked to life. Angles of the porch, the dock, the side entry. My property under my watch. For the first time, I felt the house wasn't just mine on paper. It was mine in practice. Still, sleep didn't come easily. Memories circled, hauling waterlogged beams, alone while they sent me vacation photos. Clarissa pocketing my college savings with Harold's blessing. Evelyn's constant chorus of family helps family. Always code for Marissa, sacrifices first. But tonight, something shifted. I didn't feel like the child at their table anymore. I felt like the architect of my own defense. By dawn, resolve had settled in my chest like bedrock. I brewed coffee, dressed simply, and tucked the folder of permits under my arm. Whatever storm came next, I was ready to face it in daylight. The next morning, a low rumble shook the quiet. From my kitchen window, I watched a moving truck lumber down the gravel road to my lake house. The burgundy logo on its side matched the lipstick Clarissa had worn at dinner. They weren't asking anymore. They were moving in. By the time I arrived, Raphael's crew had already posted cones and sawhorses, permits taped to the door like armor. The truck idled at the road, trapped. Clarissa stormed out, sunglasses perched like a crown. What the hell is this? These men won't let our movers through. As I told you, I said evenly, lifting the permits, renovation starts today. Her smile sharpened. We'll work around it. She shoved her key into the lock. Nothing. Welcome to Secure Home Systems, announced the robotic voice. Unauthorized entry attempt detected. Alerting property owner and security service. My phone chimed. I lifted it, screen glowing with the alert. Clarissa spun on me, eyes blazing. You changed the locks? Last week. I nodded toward the cameras glinting under the eaves. Standard protocol. Police have been notified. Something broke in her face, entitlement leaking through the cracks. You can't do this to us. We're family. Family respects boundaries, I replied, steady. My phone rang again. Security company, right on time. I confirmed the alert and hung up. Through the windshield, I saw Clarissa gesturing wildly to Greg, slumped silent in the passenger seat. Raphael stepped closer, hard hat in hand. We're ready when you are, Ms. Rivers. Proceed, I said, signing his clipboard. Master Suite down by Thursday. He hesitated. Your sister seems determined. Should we expect interference? Before I could answer, the truck engine roared. Instead of retreating, it swerved around the sawhorses, tearing onto my lawn, crushing the ornamental grasses I'd planted in spring. Movers jumped out, ramp clattering. Clarissa emerged, triumphant smile plastered across her face. Since you won't be reasonable, we'll store things here. The yard will work fine until you come to your senses. The first piece, our grandmother's mahogany dresser, thudded onto my grass. Greg followed, miserable but obedient. I didn't move. Instead, I dialed a number saved the night before. Lakeside Auction House? Yes, this is Marissa Rivers. Proceed with pickup as discussed. Donate everything to the foster youth program. Clarissa froze, her smile evaporating. What auction house? The one I called yesterday, I said, my eyes never leaving hers. I gestured to the furniture piling up. I anticipated this move. Raphael cleared his throat. Miss Rivers, should we work around the furniture? No need. I handed him the final authorization forms. Everything unsecured gets removed today. And so it did. Walls came down, furniture piled higher. Clarissa alternated between tears and threats. Greg finally dragged her off, promising to fix this tomorrow. 2 days later, the first sledgehammer split the master suite wall. Clarissa's future bedroom. Sunlight spilled through the raw frame, sawdust thick in the air. That's when their car pulled in. Harold and Evelyn stepped out like witnesses to a crime, staring at the machines chewing through their imagined inheritance. What have you done? Harold barked, voice competing with the saws. 9-month renovation, I said, blueprints under my arm. Everything to the studs. Behind me, the sledgehammer split another wall, sunlight flooding through the bare frame. For the first time in years, I could breathe deeply here. The air smelled of sawdust and possibility, freedom replacing obligation. Harold's eyes scanned the gutted room, calculating. Marissa, this is excessive. Stop now, and we can still make arrangements for Clarissa's family. I laughed, the sound bouncing against stripped studs. That's not happening. His face darkened, storm brewing. "You've never understood family obligation. I can cut you out of the will entirely." The threat hung heavy. Months ago it might have crushed me. Now I just nodded. "You already did, when I refused to co-sign Greg's failed real estate deal." Clarissa told me. Evelyn gasped. Harold's color drained. The lie exposed itself without my effort. Her eyes brimmed with tears, familiar, manipulative, once powerful enough to unravel me. "Marissa, please, think of the children." "I am." I turned to the foreman. "How's the reading nook?" "Framed and ready," he nodded. "For the foster youth program," I explained, watching Evelyn's confusion bloom. "Same program that received the auction proceeds." Harold's eyes narrowed. "Clarissa said you sold heirlooms." "Furniture abandoned on land that wasn't hers," I corrected. "Auction house documented everything, very public." Evelyn clutched Harold's arm. "She's made us look terrible." "People are talking." I pulled out my phone, scrolling to Clarissa's deleted posts about her homeless family, and the flood of praise I'd received for the donation. Public shaming doesn't work when the truth speaks louder. Harold straightened, shifting into negotiation mode. "Let's discuss options. Perhaps a compromise. Progress, from demands to bargaining, small but progress." "The renovation continues," I said firmly. "But I'll help Clarissa find housing within her budget." Evelyn's tone softened, hesitant, cautious. "That would be appreciated." Notifications buzzed on my screen. Security logs, donation receipts, progress photos from the back deck. As I tucked the phone away, I caught Harold studying my blueprints, reluctant admiration flickering in his eyes. He recognized planning when he saw it. "Sometimes you need to strip everything back," I told them. "Only then can you build something authentic." Before they could reply, my phone lit again. Greg's name. "Excuse me," I said, stepping aside. His voice was quieter than I'd ever heard. "Marissa, I'm sorry. I should have spoken up." Through the window, I saw Harold and Evelyn walking back to their car, shoulders looser than when they arrived. "Sometimes the hardest foundations to pour," I told Greg, "are the ones that hold our boundaries. But they're the most important." As I drove away, twilight fell over the lake. The house glowed under construction lights, transformation unstoppable, whether they approved or not. For the first time in my adult life, I felt no guilt, no obligation, only the certainty that peace doesn't come from surrender. Sometimes it requires a stand. Sunlight scattered diamonds across my bedroom ceiling. 6 months had passed since the ambush, and the lake house was finally mine. Rebuilt, redefined, restored. Coffee warmed my palms as I stood on the balcony. No voices demanded, no obligations pressed, just the lap of water against the dock, birdsong in the oak I'd refused to cut. Later, gratitude filled the house. Rachel brought champagne. The security team sent a gift basket, signed for our most respectful client. The auction house delivered photos of a community center, furnished entirely with what Clarissa had abandoned. Then my phone buzzed. "Clarissa, I'm sorry about the furniture. Can we talk?" I composed my reply carefully. "Dinner next month. Bring dessert." No talk of moving in. A boundary. Firm, but still a door, not a wall. As twilight deepened, I walked to the dock alone. The lake shimmered with fractured light, purple bleeding into gold. My reflection in the water was steady, but the horizon kept shifting. Peace isn't the end of the story. It's the foundation. And this time, the house standing on it is mine, down to every stud, every beam, every choice.